The courtroom erupted in chaos as my sister's ex-husband, Derek, lunged across the defendant's table, his face twisted with rage as two bailiffs wrestled him back down. His expensive suit tore at the shoulder as he screamed at me, spittle flying from his mouth. "You destroyed everything! You had no right!" But I just stood there in the witness box, holding up the GPS tracker I'd planted in my nephew's teddy bear. The same tracker that led the FBI straight to the abandoned warehouse where Derek had been hiding him for 3 days. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder as Derek's mother collapsed in the gallery, and my sister gripped my arm so tight I thought it might bruise. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right, even if it means becoming the villain in someone else's story? If you're watching this from anywhere in the world where a child's safety matters more than blood relations, hit that subscribe button and let me know, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you thought you knew about trust. My name is Nathan Brooks, and I just turned 19 last month. I thought becoming an adult meant finally getting to make my own decisions without my family's input, maybe traveling a bit before starting community college in the fall. Instead, it meant becoming the only person standing between my 7-year-old nephew and a father who saw him as nothing more than a bargaining chip worth $2 million. Growing up in Riverside, Connecticut, my family looked perfect from the outside. My sister Rachel was 12 years older than me, the golden child who'd married Derek Whitmore when I was just 6. Derek came from old money, the kind of family that had buildings named after them at Yale and summer houses in the Hamptons. My parents, solidly middle-class teachers, had been over the moon when Rachel brought him home. Dad taught history at the local high school, Mom taught elementary art, and suddenly their daughter was marrying into Connecticut royalty. I remember being Derek's ring bearer at their wedding. He knelt down to my level, adjusted my tiny bow tie, and promised he'd be the best big brother I'd ever have. For years he kept that promise. He taught me to throw a football, took me to Yankees games, and always had my back when Rachel got on my case about homework. When my nephew Connor was born, I was 11, and Derek made me feel like the most important uncle in the world. But money changes people. Or maybe it just reveals who they really were all along. The Whitmore family fortune started hemorrhaging about 3 years ago. Bad investments, Derek's father's gambling debts, and a massive lawsuit against their pharmaceutical company all hit at once. The summer house sold first, then the yacht, then the family compound in Greenwich. Derek started drinking more, working less, and blaming everyone but himself for their problems. Rachel tried to be supportive, even went back to work as a marketing executive to help with expenses, but Derek's pride couldn't handle his wife being the breadwinner. The divorce started amicably enough 18 months ago. They agreed on joint custody of Connor, and Derek moved into a condo his mother still owned in Stamford. Rachel kept the house, the one thing she'd insisted on putting in her name when they bought it. Smart woman, my sister. But Derek's situation kept deteriorating. The condo got foreclosed on. His mother moved to Florida to live with his aunt, and Derek started showing up to pick up Connor, looking rougher each time. Unshaven, clothes wrinkled, that sharp smell of vodka barely masked by too much cologne. Rachel documented everything. Every late pickup, every missed child support payment, every time Connor came home saying Daddy had been sleeping a lot during his weekend visits. She filed for full custody 6 months ago. The court date was set for next month, and Derek's lawyer had basically told him he didn't have a chance. That's when everything went to hell. It was a Thursday afternoon in early September. I'd just gotten home from my job at the local bike shop when my phone exploded with text from Rachel. Connor's school had called. Derek had picked him up early, claiming a family emergency. But there was no emergency, and it wasn't Derek's day to have him. The school secretary, Mrs. Patterson, who'd known the family for years, hadn't thought to question it when Derek showed up in his suit, looking every inch the concerned father. Rachel was hysterical when I got to her house. The police were already there, but they kept saying it wasn't kidnapping since Derek was his father, and there was no custody order explicitly forbidding him from picking Connor up from school. "It's a civil matter," Officer Reynolds kept saying, like that was supposed to make Rachel feel better. "He'll probably bring him back. Parents do this sometimes during custody disputes." But I knew Derek better than they did. I'd seen the desperation in his eyes the last time he'd come to pick up Connor. I'd heard him on the phone in the driveway, telling someone he'd find a way to get the money, no matter what it takes. And I'd noticed him taking photos of Rachel's house, her car, even her daily running route. This wasn't just a frustrated father acting out. This was planned. While Rachel argued with the police, I slipped up to Connor's room. If Derek had taken him, he'd probably let Connor pack some things to avoid suspicion. Sure enough, Connor's overnight bag was gone, along with his Nintendo Switch and, crucially, Mr. Buttons, the stuffed bear Connor had slept with since he was a baby. That bear gave me an idea. 2 months earlier, I'd read an article about these tiny GPS trackers parents were putting in their kids' backpacks after some school shooting scares. The trackers were the size of a quarter, had a 2-week battery life, and could be monitored from a phone app. I'd actually bought one for Connor's backpack myself with Rachel's permission, but I bought a 2-pack. The second one was still in my apartment. I drove home, grabbed the tracker, and activated it on my phone. The app showed its location at my apartment just as expected. Then I did something I probably should have run by Rachel first, but time was everything. I called Derek. He answered on the third ring, trying to sound casual. "Hey, little brother, what's up?" "Derek, I know you have Connor. Rachel's freaking out and the cops are here." "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just..." "Cut the crap. Look, I get it. The custody thing sucks. But this isn't the way. Bring him back and I'll tell Rachel it was a misunderstanding. I'll say you called me first, that you were just taking him for ice cream or something." There was a long pause. "You always were too smart for your own good, Nate. Where are you?" "Somewhere safe. Connor's fine. He's playing his game. This is between me and Rachel." "No, Derek, it's not. You've made it everyone's problem now. And what do you want?" Another pause. "What I'm owed. What I deserve. The Whitmore name used to mean something in this state. Your sister took everything from me." "Rachel didn't take your family's fortune, Derek. She's sitting on a $2 million life insurance policy from her father. Did you know that? Your precious sister inherited $2 million when your dad died, and she never told me. It's in a trust Connor can't touch until he's 21, but she could access it any time for family emergencies. Well, this is a fucking emergency." My blood went cold. Dad had died 3 years ago from a heart attack. I knew he left something for Connor's college fund, but $2 million. And more importantly, how did Derek know about it? "Derek, even if that's true, you can't..." "I can, and I will. Tell Rachel she has 48 hours to liquidate that trust. Cash, unmarked bills, or she'll never see Connor again. And if she goes to the FBI, if she tries anything stupid, I'll disappear with him. You know, I have connections in Europe. The Whitmores still have friends there. Derek, please. 48 hours, Nathan. And don't try to play hero. You're just a kid working in a bike shop. Stay out of this." He hung up. I stood in my apartment, mind racing. The police had already proven useless. If we went to the FBI now, Derek might run. He was desperate enough to do something stupid, dangerous even. But I had something he didn't know about. I had a way to track Connor, assuming I could get the tracker to him. I went back to Rachel's house. She was on her laptop, frantically checking Derek's social media, her friends' accounts, anything for a clue. I told her about the call, leaving out the part about the life insurance policy. I didn't want her to think this was somehow her fault. "We need to call the FBI," she said immediately. "Not yet. Let me try something first. Derek thinks I'm just a dumb kid. Maybe I can use that." I called Derek back. "I want to see Connor, just to make sure he's okay." "No way!" "Derek, come on. You said you'd be the best big brother I ever had. Was that all bullshit? I'm not asking to take him. I just want to see him, maybe bring him some of his stuff from his room. You know he won't sleep without Mr. Buttons." Derek actually laughed. "You remember that stupid bear?" "I remember everything. I remember you teaching me to ride a bike in Cove Island Park. I remember you letting me stay up late to watch the game when Rachel and Mom went shopping. I remember when you were actually a good guy." The line went quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. Then fine. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Cove Island Park, the parking lot by the beach. You come alone. You bring the bear, and whatever else Connor needs. No Rachel, no cops, or I'm gone. I'll be there. That night, I carefully opened a seam in Mr. Button's back and slipped the GPS tracker inside, sewing it back up with Mom's old sewing kit. The stitching wasn't perfect, but Connor wouldn't notice, and Derek certainly wouldn't be checking a stuffed animal for surveillance equipment. The next morning, I drove to Cove Island Park, with Mr. Buttons, some of Connor's clothes, and his favorite snacks in a backpack. Derek was already there, sitting in a rental car I didn't recognize, a black Toyota Camry, license plate from New York. Smart. Harder to trace than his own vehicle. Connor was in the back seat, and when he saw me, his face lit up. "Uncle Nate!" I walked over slowly, hands visible, backpack open to show I wasn't hiding anything. Derek got out looking haggard. He'd lost weight, and his usually perfect hair was greasy and unkempt. 5 minutes, he said. I climbed into the back seat with Connor. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? Good. Dad says we're on an adventure. We stayed in a hotel with a pool last night. That's awesome. I pulled out Mr. Buttons. But you forgot this guy. Connor grabbed the bear and hugged it tight. I missed him so much. Dad said we had to leave too fast to get him. Well, he's here now. I ruffled Connor's hair, fighting to keep my voice steady. You be good for your dad, okay? Your mom loves you very much. Is Mommy mad at me? No, buddy, never. She just misses you. Time's up, Derek said. I gave Connor one more hug, making sure Mr. Buttons was secure in his arms, then got out of the car. Derek leaned in close to me. Tell Rachel the clock's ticking, 46 hours now. As they drove away, I pulled out my phone. The GPS app showed a moving dot heading north on I-95. Perfect. I followed them at a distance for 3 hours, always staying at least a mile back, tracking them on the app. They stopped at a rest area near New Haven, then continued, north into Massachusetts. Finally, around 2 p.m., the dot stopped moving at a location in Worcester, an old industrial area according to the map. I pulled over and called Rachel. I know where they are. What? How? I explained about the tracker. She wanted to call the FBI immediately, but I convinced her to wait. We don't know if he's working with anyone. If the FBI shows up and something goes wrong, let me scope it out first. It was probably stupid, definitely dangerous, but I was 19 and thought I was invincible. I drove to Worcester and found the building, an abandoned textile factory that had been converted into illegal lofts from the look of it. The tracker showed Connor was on the 3rd floor. I waited until dark, then climbed the fire escape. Through a dirty window I could see into what looked like a makeshift apartment. Connor was asleep on a mattress, Mr. Buttons clutched in his arms. Derek was at a table, laptop open, phone to his ear. I need more time, he was saying. She'll pay, I know she will. She loves that kid more than anything. No, I can't move him again yet. He's getting suspicious. Yes, I understand what happens if I don't pay you back. 2 more days, that's all I need. That's when I understood. This wasn't just about custody or even revenge on Rachel. Derek owed someone money, probably the kind of people who break kneecaps when you don't pay. He was using Connor to get the money to save his own skin. I climbed back down and called Rachel from my car. This time I told her everything. We're calling the FBI, now! The FBI doesn't mess around with kidnapping cases. Within 2 hours, they had agents at Rachel's house, at the warehouse in Worcester, and were tracking Derek's phone and credit cards. They confirmed what I'd suspected. Derek owed almost $300,000 to some very dangerous people connected to illegal gambling operations. The negotiator, Agent Sarah Chen, was brilliant. She called Derek pretending to be a lawyer Rachel had hired to facilitate the trust liquidation. She kept him on the phone for 20 minutes, confirming Connor was safe, while SWAT moved into position around the warehouse. The raid went down at 3 a.m. I wasn't there. The FBI made sure Rachel and I were nowhere near the scene, but Agent Chen called us immediately after. Connor was safe, unharmed, and asking for his mom and his uncle. Derek had been taken into custody without incident, though he'd apparently broken down crying when he realized it was over. The aftermath was messy. Derek was charged with kidnapping, extortion, and child endangerment. His mother tried to pay for a good lawyer, but even she couldn't stomach what he'd done when she learned the full truth. The dangerous people Derek owed money to were also arrested, part of a larger federal investigation into illegal gambling and loan sharking that Derek's case had helped crack open. But the real shock came during the trial, when the full extent of Derek's plan was revealed. He hadn't just planned to take the money and return Connor. He'd bought fake passports for both of them. He'd transferred what little money he had left to an account in Cyprus. He was planning to disappear forever, to steal Connor from Rachel permanently and start a new life overseas. The GPS tracker I'd hidden in Mr. Buttons became a key piece of evidence. The prosecutor called it brilliant foresight from a concerned uncle, though I knew it was mostly just dumb luck and desperation. Derek's lawyer tried to argue that I'd violated Derek's privacy, that the tracker was illegal surveillance, but the judge shut that down fast. You can't claim privacy rights when you're committing a federal crime. During my testimony, that's when Derek lost it. When I held up that little tracker, explained how I'd sewn it into the bear, how I'd have followed them to Worcester, he realized that the dumb kid he'd dismissed had been the one to bring him down. His own ego, his assumption that I was just Rachel's useless teenage brother, had been his downfall. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Derek got 15 years in federal prison, with the possibility of parole in 10 if he behaved himself. His mother moved permanently to Florida, too ashamed to show her face in Connecticut society. The Whitmore name, which Derek had been so desperate to preserve, became synonymous with scandal. Connor needed therapy, of course. For months he had nightmares about being taken away again. But kids are resilient, and with Rachel's love and support, he slowly healed. He still sleeps with Mr. Buttons, not knowing that Bear saved his life. Maybe someday, when he's older, we'll tell him the full story. Rachel never did have a $2 million life insurance policy, by the way. That was another one of Derek's delusions, a number he'd made up or misunderstood from some legal document he'd glimpsed during the divorce proceedings. Dad had left Connor $50,000 for college, which was generous, but hardly the fortune Derek imagined. The experience changed me. I'd planned to take a gap year, maybe backpack through Europe, find myself, and whatever 19-year-olds do. Instead, I enrolled in criminal justice courses at the University of Connecticut. The FBI agent who'd worked our case, Agent Chen, wrote me a recommendation letter. She said I had good instincts, that I'd make a good investigator someday. It's been a year now since that night in the warehouse. Connor just turned 8, and he's doing great, playing a little league, getting good grades, being a normal kid. Rachel met someone new, a pediatrician named James, who treats Connor like his own son, and who actually passed my extensive background check. Yes, I ran one, and no, I'm not sorry. Derek's up for a prison transfer soon, trying to get moved to a minimum security facility. Part of the process involves statements from the victims about whether they support or oppose the transfer. Rachel asked me to write one, and I've been staring at the blank page for days. Because here's the thing about family betrayal. It doesn't end when the verdict is read or the prison door slams shut. Derek wasn't just my brother-in-law. For 13 years, he was my brother. He taught me to tie a tie for my first school dance, helped me with my college essays, was there when Dad died, and I couldn't stop crying. That person, the Derek I loved, feels like he died too, replaced by the stranger capable of using a 7-year-old as a bargaining chip. But Connor asked me something the other day that stopped me cold. We were playing catch in Rachel's backyard when he said, "Uncle Nate, do you think Dad ever loved me, or was I always just something he could use?" I told him the truth, or at least the version of it a kid could understand. "Your dad's sick, buddy. Not sick in his body, but sick in his mind. The sickness made him do bad things, made him forget how to love the right way. But before he got sick? Yeah, he loved you. I was there when you were born, and I saw his face. That love was real." Connor nodded, threw the ball back. "I hope he gets better in the hospital." He doesn't know it's a prison, not a hospital. Someday he will, but not yet. Me too, buddy, me too. Looking back, people ask me if I'd do it differently. Would I have just called the FBI immediately, let the professionals handle it, not put myself at risk climbing fire escapes and planting trackers? Honestly? No. Because every minute mattered. Every second Derek had Connor was another second that something could go wrong, another moment my nephew was in danger. The FBI was incredible once they were involved, but they needed that location, that confirmation Connor was there and safe. The tracker gave them that. If you're watching this and you're in a situation where someone you love is in danger, where family is using family bonds as weapons, know this. You're not betraying anyone by protecting the innocent. Derek betrayed us the moment he chose his desperations over Connor's safety. He broke the family trust, not me, not Rachel, not the FBI agents who put handcuffs on him. Family isn't just about blood or marriage certificates or shared last names. It's about protection and about putting the vulnerable first, about choosing love over money or pride or desperation every single time. Derek forgot that. He thought his name, his legacy, his financial problems were more important than a 7-year-old boy who just wanted his dad to love him. The Whitmore family fortune is gone now, dissolved in bankruptcy and legal fees. The buildings with their name are being quietly renamed. The legacy Derek was so desperate to preserve has been erased. But Connor's safe. He's loved. He's growing up to be a kind, thoughtful kid who still believes in heroes because he knows they exist. He knows his mom would move mountains for him, and his uncle would supplant a tracker and a teddy bear and face down the FBI to bring him home. That's a real legacy. Not money or names or old Connecticut bloodlines, but the simple act of showing up for the people who need you, even when it's dangerous, even when it costs everything, even when it means testifying against someone you once called brother. Derek will get out of prison someday, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 15. Connor will be an adult by then, able to decide for himself if he wants a relationship with his father. I'll support whatever he chooses, but I'll also make sure he knows the whole truth first, not to poison him against Derek, but to arm him with the knowledge he needs to protect himself, because that's what family really does. We protect each other, we stand guard, we plant trackers and teddy bears if that's what it takes. And sometimes, when someone we trusted shows us who they really are, we believe them. We call the FBI. We testify in court. We do what needs to be done, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much we wish things could be different. The last time I saw Derek was at the sentencing. He'd lost probably 30 pounds, his hair was completely gray, and he looked like he'd aged a decade in the month since his arrest. When the judge read the sentence, he didn't react, just stared straight ahead like he was somewhere else entirely. But as the bailiffs led him away, he looked back at me. Not at Rachel, not at his mother, but at me. And for just a second, I saw a flash of the old Derek, the one who'd taught me to throw a spiral in Rachel's backyard. He nodded just once, like he was acknowledging something. Maybe that I'd won. Maybe that he was sorry. Maybe just goodbye. I nodded back, because despite everything, despite the betrayal and the danger and the federal crimes, he'd been my brother once. That history doesn't disappear just because the present became a nightmare. Connor still has Mr. Buttons. The bear's a little worse for wear now, with my amateur stitching job and a year of being dragged everywhere, but Connor won't let Rachel replace him. Sometimes I wonder if somehow, on some level, he knows that bear saved him. Kids are perceptive like that. The GPS tracker? I kept it after the FBI returned it as evidence. It sits in my desk drawer, this tiny piece of technology that changed everything. Sometimes I look at it and think about how different things might have been if I hadn't read that article, hadn't bought that 2-pack, hadn't thought to hide it in a stuffed animal. But mostly I try not to think about the what-ifs. What if Derek had gotten away with it? What if he'd made it to Europe with Connor? What if those dangerous people he owed money to had found them first? Instead, I focus on what is. Connor's safe. Rachel's healing. I'm in my second year of criminal justice studies, and Agent Chen says the FBI has a summer internship program I should apply for. Life moved on, the way it always does. Even after the kind of betrayal that should break a family apart. And if you're out there watching this, dealing with your own family crisis, your own betrayal, your own impossible choice between loyalty and safety, remember this. Choosing to protect the innocent isn't betrayal. It's the highest form of love. Even if it means hiding a tracker. Even if it means calling the FBI. Even if it means watching someone you love get led away in handcuffs. Because real family, the kind that matters, isn't about blood or law or tradition. It's about showing up. It's about protection. It's about choosing the vulnerable over the powerful every single time. Derek chose wrong. He chose money over his son, pride over love, desperation over trust. But Connor, Rachel, me, we chose each other. We chose safety. We chose truth. And in the end, that's the only choice that matters. Connor's baseball team made it to the state championships last month. He played shortstop, Derek's old position. After the game, they lost but fought hard. Connor ran up to me and Rachel, trophy for participation in his hand, smile bright despite the loss. "Did you see that catch I made in the 6th inning?" he asked, eyes shining. We had. We'd seen everything. We always would. That's what family does. We show up. We bear witness. We protect. And when someone threatens that, when someone uses love as a weapon and children as pawns, we do whatever it takes to stop them, even if it means becoming the villain in their story. Even if it means hiding a GPS tracker in a teddy bear named Mr. Buttons. Even if it means losing someone we thought we'd have forever. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. Some trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt. But from the ashes of that destruction, sometimes something stronger grows. A family forged not by obligation, but by choice. By shared trauma transformed into shared strength. Derek took Connor for 3 days. But in those 3 days, he gave us something too. The knowledge that we would do anything, face anyone, sacrifice everything to keep each other safe. He showed us who we really were when tested, and we passed that test. With a GPS tracker, an FBI raid, and a love stronger than any betrayal could ever be. End.